Alright guys, today we're going to be talking about Reines Archosaur. Now if you remember Canif Archibald from Fate Zero, Reines is a magus that comes from a branch of that same family, the Archosaurs. Prior to Canif's untimely death, he was the former lord of the El-Melloi faction at the clock tower. That faction was able to come up with a numerous amount of assets, mystic codes, and lands that were passed down from generation to generation. Once Canif died, the gloves were off. Everybody was in the ring trying to get a piece of that inheritance. This caused all of those accumulated resources to be taken by portions of the family, and the only thing left for Reines was the El-Melloi title. Being that she was the one most suitable for the family crest, Reines was the one in line to become the next lord. But here's the problem. She's only 15. She's too young to hold the position. This is where Waver comes in. Since Waver was the one that stole Canif's servant, it could be viewed in a way that he is the reason that Canif died in the first place. And Reines begins to use this to her advantage. She kidnaps Waver and tells him, in order to pay us back, you're gonna work for me now, and you're gonna like it. Considering that Waver was years older from the time that he was in Fate Zero, he felt bad about what he had done, so he agreed to hearing out her demands. The first demand was regarding the faction's debt. Since the Archibalds were at the head of the faction when they lost all of these resources, they were now responsible for coming up with the replacements, which means they owe the clock tower a whole lot of money. It is Waver that now has to deal with that problem. On top of that, she told him to fix the El-Melloi crest, which in her own words would take 3 lifetimes to recover. She told him to hold the El-Melloi title until she's old enough to take the position herself, and from now on he will be her very own personal tutor. All of these things could be said to fall in line with her character. When it comes to Reines in terms of personality, she's the type of person that likes to see somebody suffer. And if we're just being honest, most of these things are really just to troll Waver. When it comes to her specifically, she has her very own version of mystic eyes, and she even had Waver help her create a humanoid version of Canif's Volumen Hydrodrum. Alongside being her greatest form of defense, it is her familiar that helps her carry out her daily tasks, and her protection is valued dearly, since most of her family has been trying to kill her since she was born, and take her spot for becoming a lord. Her childhood consisted of people constantly trying to poison her food, and eventually she opted to carry her own supply to keep herself in good shape. Now, as far as Grand Order goes, Reines is summoned as yet another pseudo-servant. She is summoned with the Chinese war general Sima Yi inside her body. He is from the era of the 3 great kingdoms in China, where you had the 3 most prominent states going at each other's neck for control of the region. Going off into his childhood, Yi was a highly studied military prospect. For the most part, he spent his youth in the city of Luoyang, but he often got moved around from the fear that the politics might put them in harm's way. With his father being a government official, Yi was only allowed to talk to him when he was summoned to the court, and even then, his word might fall on deaf ears. As he quickly made his way up the ranks, the warlord Cao noticed Yi's efforts and immediately made an attempt to have Yi work at his side. The first time around, Yi actually declined his request because he knew the empire was only headed towards a downward spiral. But the second time around, when Cao had more power, he told Yi, "No, you are gonna work for me, or you're gonna get arrested." So almost a decade later, you have Yi still working at the side of Cao, urging him to take advantage of the decline of the Han's empire and usurp the throne from the emperor. Cao, on the other hand, didn't think this was a good idea, so he ignored this advice and continued to go about his business. Yi continues to give Cao advice on all the rivals that he should be worried about. Again and again, Cao ignores this advice, and it costed him greatly. Situations like the Battle of Fan Cheng, where Cao's general was forced to surrender, which could have been avoided if he just listened to Yi. After this, Cao started to get a little paranoid and felt like he should move his capital because it was too close to enemy territory. Yi told him, "This is the worst thing that you could possibly do. It's basically throwing the white flag, telling your enemy that you're too weak to stand your own ground." Finally, Cao begins to take Yi's advice, and these were the things that helped him hold his status all the way until his death. His heir would then go on to be Cao Pi, who, in contrast to his father, had a lot of respect for Yi's tactics from the start. He takes Yi's ideas and immediately usurped the throne from the Emperor Xian. From there, Pi became the very first emperor of one of the three kingdoms, the Wei Dynasty. Yi continues to rise in his ranks, having some of the most powerful positions in the entire empire, tending to multiple campaigns like fending off the Wu Dynasty when they tried to invade the capital. After just a few years of his rule, Pi suddenly catches an illness and pitches off that same position to his son, Cao Rui. And even though all these leaders were passing by, Yi was still running strong. Now, under Rui's command, Yi takes to the field once again, fighting off the forces of the military strategist Zhuge Liang. This is the same spirit that is inside Waver's body and one of the main reasons that Reines was summoned. Zhuge is from the Shu Empire, and just like Reines constantly trolling Waver in case files, Yi also had an ongoing feud between Zhuge during his lifetime. They made several attempts to bait each other out when they were on the field and find more efficient ways to pull off their attacks. To Yi's surprise, however, this feud came up short when Zhuge died of illness. Once Rui passed away, the throne was handed off to his foster son, Cao Feng. But this time around, things were a little bit different. The thing is, Feng was only 7 years old, and since he was too young to enforce these powers, Yi and another official, Shuang, were tasked with doing the job. His desperation for power, however, eventually drove Shuang into trying to crop Yi out of the picture. And it's no secret that he envied Yi's position. He had more influence, he had better strategies, and he had more people that were willing to take his side when it really boiled down to it. He convinced Feng to give Yi a promotion, but this promotion was only a placeholder, meaning that he lost a great bulk of his power. Yi had to find a way to get Shuang off of his back before he took him out the game for good. In the event that Feng was doing one of his visits to his father's tomb, Yi orchestrated a coup d'etat where he had Shuang and all the people that sided with him put to death, and Yi's struggles didn't just end there. Once he heard about Shuang's death, the general Wang Ling saw his own opportunity to capitalize from the situation. Now the circumstances had turned into him trying to replace Feng with his own relative. With this in mind, he tries to initiate a rebellion, but Yi was way ahead of him. Before he could even get this plan off the ground, Yi shows up near his base and cuts him off while he's still making his preparations. Ling's betrayal cost him his life, along with the rest of his family being sent off to execution. By this point in time, Yi had finally reached the end of his days. He had become bedridden because he contracted an illness. Look, man, everybody has an illness in this story. At this point, I feel like I have an illness. And Yi even expressed while he was bedridden that he was haunted by Wang Ling's ghost. When there was no more energy left to give, Yi passes away at the age of 73. Let me know what you guys think. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Shout out to all the patrons, and I will be back with more tight moon content. It is your boy Tsiah. I'm out.